Paris something strange. Kids born in the 1980s drank from garden hoses, rode bikes without helmets, and disappeared for entire afternoons without anyone knowing where they were. By every modern safety standard, their childhood was a disaster waiting to happen. And yet, psychologists keep noticing something about this generation. They bounce back. They adapt. They handle chaos in a way that seems almost unfair. So what happened? What did the 80s do to these kids that made them so hard to break? That's what we're unpacking today. And fair warning, if you were born between 1980 and 1989, you're going to see yourself in this video. A lot. Let's set the scene first. If you were a kid in the 80s, your world looked completely different from today. There were no smartphones, no GPS tracking, no group chats with your parents. When you left the house in the morning during summer break, the only rule was simple. Be home when the streetlights come on. That was it. That was the entire safety protocol. Maybe you remember this. You'd knock on a friend's door, and if they weren't home, you just figured it out. You rode to the next house. You waited. You got bored. You made a plan B, then a plan C, all by yourself at 8 years old. Nobody called ahead. Nobody coordinated. You navigated your small world with zero adult supervision and zero backup. Now here's where psychology comes in. Because that lifestyle wasn't just nostalgic and charming, it was accidentally building something researchers now spend millions trying to understand. It's called resilience. And the way 80s kids developed, it comes down to 5 specific psychological mechanisms. Let's go through them one by one. The first one is something psychologists call stress inoculation. Think of it like a vaccine, but for adversity. A vaccine works by giving your body a small, manageable dose of a threat so your immune system learns to fight it. Stress inoculation works the same way, but for your mind. Small, manageable doses of stress in childhood teach your brain that hard things are survivable. And the 80s were a stress inoculation factory. You got lost and you found your way home. You fell off your bike, scraped half your leg, and walked it off because nobody was coming to carry you. You had a fight with your best friend, and you couldn't just block them. You had to see them at school the next day and work it out face to face. Every one of these moments was a tiny dose of struggle, uncomfortable in the moment, powerful over time. Your nervous system learned a simple lesson over and over. I can handle this. Compare that to a childhood where every risk is padded, every conflict is mediated by an adult, and every boring moment is filled by a screen. It's not that modern kids are weak. It's that their environment rarely gives them the chance to practice recovering. And resilience, at its core, is a practiced skill, not a personality trait, a skill. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because the second mechanism is one nobody talks about: boredom. If you grew up in the 80s, you knew boredom intimately. Deep, crushing Sunday afternoon boredom. 3 TV channels and nothing on any of them. Rain outside. Nothing to do. And when you complained to your mom, you got the classic answer. Only boring people get bored. Go find something to do. So you did. You built forts out of couch cushions. You invented games with rules so complicated no adult could follow them. You turned a stick into a sword, a cardboard box into a spaceship, a boring street into an entire universe. And without knowing it, you were training one of the most important psychological muscles a human being can have: the ability to generate your own stimulation, your own meaning, your own motivation. Psychologists call this an internal locus of control. It's the deep belief that what happens in your life mostly depends on you, not on luck, not on other people, not on circumstances. You. People with a strong internal locus of control handle setbacks better, recover from failure faster, and report higher life satisfaction. And boredom, strangely enough, is one of the best teachers of it, because when nothing entertains you, you learn that you are the entertainment. You are the solution. That belief follows 80s kids into adulthood. When life gets empty or hard, their default setting isn't to wait for rescue. It's to build something. Now, the third mechanism. And this one might sting a little, because it's about being a latchkey kid. Millions of 80s kids came home from school to an empty house. Both parents working, key on a string around your neck or hidden under the mat. You let yourself in. You made your own snack. You did your homework or didn't, and you managed your own time until an adult showed up hours later. Was it lonely sometimes? Absolutely. And we should be honest about that. Psychologists have found real downsides to that experience, and many 80s kids carry a fierce independence that sometimes makes it hard to ask for help. That's the shadow side, and it's real. But here's the flip side, that daily unsupervised responsibility built something psychologists call self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is your belief in your own ability to handle what life throws at you, and it's not built by being told you're capable. It's built by proof, evidence, reps. Every afternoon, a latchkey kid managed alone was a data point in their brain saying, I can take care of myself. Stack up thousands of those data points across a childhood, and you get an adult who walks into chaos and thinks, okay, I've got this. Not because they're arrogant, because they've been collecting evidence since they were 7. You might have experienced this as an adult without connecting it to your childhood. That moment when everything at work falls apart, everyone's panicking, and something in you just goes calm. That calm isn't random. It was installed decades ago, one empty afternoon at a time. The fourth mechanism is one the modern world has almost completely deleted: waiting. Think about what wanting something felt like in the 80s. You wanted to hear your favorite song? You sat by the radio with a blank cassette tape, finger hovering over the record button, sometimes for hours. You wanted to watch a movie? You waited for Friday, rode to the video store, and prayed the tape was in stock. You ordered something cool from the back of a comic book, 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. 6 to 8 weeks. Kids today can't wait 6 to 8 seconds for a video to load. This constant waiting trains something psychology considers a superpower: delayed gratification. The famous marshmallow studies suggested that kids who could wait for a bigger reward later tended to do better across many areas of life. Now, the original research has been debated and refined over the years, but the core idea holds. The ability to tolerate the gap between wanting something and getting it is deeply tied to resilience. Because what is resilience, really? It's the ability to stay in an uncomfortable present because you believe in a better future. That's it. And 80s kids ran that exact mental program every single week of their childhood. Wanting, waiting, enduring, receiving. Their brains learned that discomfort is not an emergency. It's just the space between you and the thing you want. And that brings us to the fifth mechanism, maybe the most important one: failing in private. If you fell flat on your face in 1987, guess who saw it? The 6 kids on your street. That's it. There was no camera, no post, no comment section, no permanent record. You got laughed at for a day, you laughed too, and by next week it was forgotten. Your failures were local, temporary, and small. That did something profound to how 80s kids relate to failure. When failure is cheap, you take more swings. You try the skateboard trick. You ask the person out. You start the weird project. Because worst case, a few people chuckle and life moves on. Psychologists know that fear of failure is one of the biggest killers of resilience, because people who fear failure avoid challenges, and people who avoid challenges never build the muscle of getting back up. Kids of the 80s grew up in a world where failure had a tiny audience and a short memory, so they kept swinging. And every swing, hit or miss, made them harder to knock down. Now let's put all 5 pieces together. Stress inoculation taught them hard things are survivable. Boredom taught them to generate their own solutions. Latchkey afternoons gave them proof of their own capability. Endless waiting taught them that discomfort isn't an emergency, and private failure taught them to keep taking swings. 5 accidental ingredients, 1 remarkably durable generation. But here's the real insight, and it's not about the 80s at all. Nobody sat down in 1983 and designed a resilience program. No parent said, I'm going to strategically bore my child today. It happened by accident, which means resilience isn't magic and it isn't generational luck. It's the predictable result of specific experiences: manageable struggle, unstructured time, real responsibility, delayed rewards, low-stakes failure. Anyone at any age can put those ingredients back into their life. Take on something slightly harder than you're comfortable with. Sit in boredom without reaching for your phone. Wait for things on purpose. Try something you might fail at, quietly, just for yourself. The kids of the 80s weren't built different. They were built by different conditions, and conditions can be recreated. So if you were born between 1980 and 1989, give your younger self some credit. Every scraped knee, every boring Sunday, every empty house, every 6 to 8 week wait was a brick in a foundation you're still standing on today. And if you weren't born in the 80s, you now know the recipe. Struggle a little, wait a little, fail a little. That's not a hard childhood. That's training. If this resonated with you, you might also want to check out our video on why some people stay calm under pressure while others fall apart. And the first step to building resilience is simply understanding where it comes from. You've already taken that step by watching this.